The new segment, Turn It Up, and you got me that head skateboarding down Hunter Street after the grand final. Anyway, new segment, Turn It Up. Gal, Freddie, Gus, sharpest minds or one sharp mind? True chat, strong opinions. Start with you, Gus. The Dogs yesterday, Josh Addo-Carr came off injured. How is he?
Yeah, he's actually okay. X-rays have cleared him of any fracture, just so people understand why he stayed on the field. When he first did it, was kind of diagnosed quickly as an AC joint, and they thought, can you get through to half-time? We could give it a pain-killing injection, a bit of anti-inflammatory, which he was prepared to do. It was obviously sore. When they got off at half-time and looked at it again, they thought it was something more. They thought that maybe there was a fracture, so they got him off. He was keen to get through to half-time and see whether or not he could get some pain relief. The diagnosis now is that he's got a significant soft tissue injury. There's no fracture, and I understand that's good news. I don't know when he'll be back though.
Okay, so a chance at next week maybe. Okay, this year we've all sort of tipped the Broncos pretty much up the top to win it. Worried after Vegas?
It's only round one, and there was enough in that game where I saw some signs of that in last year, where they were able to go and win games. There's a good chance they've gone away, and I think sometimes when you get beaten in the grand final, some teams will go away and just that'll be their driving force the whole off-season about going back and doing it again. Be hard up there, very different, getting pats on the back, and they were very brilliant.
I think that's going to be the issue. I mean, I look at the Cowboys the year before. No one expected them to do too much. They finished top four, went really, really well. Last year, I think they thought that what didn't stink, and they thought it was going to happen again. It never happened again. They didn't work hard enough in the preseason like they did the year before. I just hope for the Brisbane and Brisbane fans that they've worked as hard as they did in this off-season as they did last year, and they can come into this season and play similar sort of footy. I think I agree with Freddie. Round one, I think they'll come good. I'm still tipping to finish top four. But they have had some big losses. Flegler is a huge loss. Farnworth is a huge loss. Flegler was an intimidating player for their side, a young front row on the rise. He's a big loss. He's the next one I was going to bring up. The thing about Kurt Capewell, okay, there may be better back rowers there, or they perceive to be better back rowers there at the moment. When you're winning, everything's okay. When you're winning games, everything's fine. Doesn't really matter. When you lose 2 or 3 games in a row, that's when you need experience. That's when you need someone there to say, settle down, boys. We'll be right. We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll come good. That's what Capewell would have done for that side. So him not being there, I think they have lost a bit of experience there. So much falls back on Adam Reynolds' shoulders. Can his body hold up? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, the key for the Broncos, without doubt, is Reece Walsh. Once in a lifetime player. Highly marketable, but he's flamboyant, he's extroverted, paints the nails and all that sort of stuff, which I could.
If he walks in grand final day, with sunnies on at night.
Here we go. Yeah.
What would you do?
Yeah. Look, it's just a different era, boys. It really is. Kids are like this. Reece Walsh is a real team man. He's a really hard trainer. He's really focused on his football. But off the field, he's like most young footballers today with, they've got managers and they've got a brand. And that's just the modern era. That's just the way it is. You wouldn't cop that back in our day. Senior players wouldn't tolerate that. It wouldn't have to be the coach.
Well, senior players, for me, I don't care. Paint the nails, couldn't give a rat's. Because I've been there. I've been a mug there, without doubt. But I had Paul Harrigan slap me saying, if you do that again, I'm going to punch you in the head.
Mate, I had
just
one
sec there, Freddie. So on Reece, grand final day with the Sunnies, it's got to come from the senior players, not the coach, and say, mate, don't put pressure on us. Don't put pressure on yourself. So have the Broncos got enough strong senior players?
Oh, they're young. Well, they've got Adam Reynolds. They've relied on Adam Reynolds.
But is that an issue? They haven't got the strong blokes.
Yeah, well, they've just got rid of, like we just said, they've got rid of Capewell. Flegler looks like that tough sort of person.
I saw a really good quote by Phil Jackson about Dennis Rodwell. What was his name? Rodman.
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman every now and then had to go and do 3 days in Vegas just to have a blowout. Drink, smoke, gamble, womanise, do whatever he wanted to do. And he went there during the playoffs.
Sounds awful.
And the media came in and saw Phil Jackson and said, is that a distraction to you? He said, not to us, it's a distraction to you. And I think the media get distracted by this a lot. Internally, they don't get distracted by it.
And internally...
Players today expect that.
Yeah.
They're just different.
And I think internally that they would see how hard he works or how hard he doesn't work. And if he's there doing all the right things at training, on the training paddock, doing the best thing for the team, and then he carries on like that on the weekend, I don't mind it. The only other sport I know anything about is boxing, okay? And you need to have shameless self-promotion to make any sort of money. And I think that's where he's at the moment. I don't think it affects the team. As long as he works hard at training, I don't think it's an issue for him.
Freddie, when you were coming through, Royce Simmons, one of the senior players, any yarns about Royce?
So, very early. So in my first game, some good things happened to me anyway. So I stepped through my first touch, chipped the fullback, Brandy scooped it off the ground, scored the try, and I'm thinking, how good am I? He sidled up next to me, little fat bloke, on the field, literally walking back as Brandy's taking the goal kick. He said, you ever effing kick the ball on tackle 3 again, I'll kill you. Mate, we've just scored a try. And then a week later, because I used to put an earring in after the game, so I put the earring in, and a couple of them grabbed me down in the club, grabbed me, they just ripped the earring straight out. My ear's bleeding, just ripped it straight out and said, we don't do earrings.
See, times have changed, though. Times have totally changed. There was a different day back then. It's just not the same now. It just isn't.
Did you ever wear the earring again?
No, the earring went.
What about Gus? You've managed different personalities and had to jump on them.
Yeah.
How would you handle?
It's interesting. Depends on the personality of the player. Well, again, another great quote. You know, like average players just want to be left alone. They just want to do their own thing, and you know, good players want to be coached. The great players want the truth, and I think sometimes the truth is what you need to give your great players. And I think too, if you hold your top player, your great players to a certain level, then it's a message for everybody else in the club and everyone else in the team. If the coach is prepared to do that to our best player, crikey, I've got to pull myself into line. You know, and I think the best player understands it, and if he's the right personality, and usually you pick the right mark, they respond to it, they get it. They mightn't like it, but they get it, and then they usually get a good result out of it. But I think the great players like the truth, and I think that's what you've got to give them.
I remember a good one, playing for the Roosters, and all my teammates were coming up to me going, mate, we're getting flogged. It was the pre-season, we're getting flogged, getting hammered. And they said, can you say something? Yeah. So I ring Ronnie, and I said, Ronnie, mate, we're getting towed up here. I said,
Ronnie Palmer.
Yeah, Ronnie Palmer was our trainer. And Gus was the coach. And Ronnie, that was it. That was the end of the conversation. So I'm sitting on my lounge one night. I see Gus's number come up. Hey, Gussie. Effing Gussie, me. you ever go to the training? He said, you're the player, you be the player. I'm the coach. I'll tell you what to do. And it was in pretty colourful language. And you know what? We learn a lot. You learn a lot, especially Gus knew his job, knew how to sort of prepare a team. And sometimes... I find a lot now, like a lot of players, they're a little bit more educated than they used to be, and they think they know what's right for them, but...
There's a lot of it. You know what? Players have got a lot of coaches these days. You know, player managers are actually going out and getting coaches for them. They're getting other senior players to coach them. They're getting their own medical people. They're getting their own sprint coaches. Players have got a lot of coaches and a lot of people in their ear these days. You've got to get them to focus on the bloke that should be coaching them.
One team town. My old club, Newcastle. The way they performed the other night. Similar to Brisbane, one team town, mad town, getting pats on the back all off season.
Yep.
You think you're working hard, you think you're rock hard fit, but after the pats on the back, you might have a pizza tonight. We don't train Thursday. You know what? I'm going to go for a beer. Can that affect playing in a one team town?
I thought the way they played,
Newcastle
compared to Canberra, which, you know, Canberra had a game plan. The halfback kicked the ball 25 times.
He was great, wasn't he?
It was great, but they had a game plan. It was very simple. They had a couple of young blokes in their team. You just run hard with support, and I'm going to kick you till victory.
Yeah, that's all.
Mate, Newcastle had 5 kickers.
Well,
Jackson Hastings had 7 kicks. That was their most. Like, it just shows you that they were all over the place. They were hoping.
I asked you.
Hoping something was going to happen.
What do you think of the Knights? And what did you say to me? They played like they were all the team superstars.
I thought they started well. And leading into half time, I thought they were probably the better team. But the second half, as Freddie said, they just played a simple game plan. Canberra just ran hard, tackled hard, and the halfback just kicked the ball relentlessly, put him in corners, made him come out. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to play the tough game. So look, maybe that is an issue for them. Obviously, I think their coaching staff will be good enough to know, you know, train them hard enough throughout the off season that they don't think that. And look, I've never had the Knights in my top 8 anyway. I think the loss of Dom Young is a huge loss. I mean, I remember the pre-game the other night, we showed the game last time they played Canberra. Dom Young was involved in 3 or 4 tries in that game alone. I reckon he won on his own 3 or 4 games last year. So you take that away from that team. I know they've got to replace him with someone, but I don't think they make the 8 anyway.
Yeah, I think Brisbane and Newcastle both had the same thing. I think they had good years last year, felt like they'd gone enough during the off-season, then tried to come out and show us all the new things they had in the round one, where Roosters and Canberra played the perfect round one game. In round one, what do you want to do? Hold on to the ball, kick long. That's what you want to do. And that's what those two teams did. And virtually Newcastle and Brisbane imploded. They just waited for those two teams to beat themselves. It'll be completely different next week.
Yeah, next week.
Next week will be completely different.
We got Brisbane Thursday night. They take on South, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
How do you reckon they'll lame up?
I think they'll be great. They'll win. They'll win. They just weren't on the right plane. You know, Roosters just allowed Brisbane to beat themselves.
Okay, well, great segment, boys. Very good.
Good to eat the food.
I can't believe I had a bar with Joe with avocados.
Yeah, well, I wanted
Water,
a Bloody Mary.
across
It's after 12 o'clock, so...
We'll get there one day.
Okay, let's go to a break. After the break, we got big talk on State of Origin. Rude head. Turn it up. Welcome. Gus, the story, 95 at Brookie. Roosters v Manly, and you get in strife.
I got in strife.
You got in strife.
I was always in strife. It's a bit of a lead up to it because Bob Fulton was the coach of Manly and they were having a record-breaking season. They'd actually won 15 in a row. They're going for a record, 16 in a row.
Under the cap.
And
18 internationals.
yeah, they were running the game. Anyway, Roosters, I just joined the Roosters in 95. They'd run sort of second last the year before and we needed to win to stay in touch with the 8 and we just played against Parramatta, Canberra and North the previous weeks. We were 3 of the top sides and we'd been beaten in the last 2 or 3 minutes in every one of those games. We were sort of knocking on the door. And I said, we'll go to Brookvale and we'll knock Manly off, you know. So we went into camp the night before. We had a big build-up for it and we had a plan and the plan worked. And we led, I think we led 21-4 at half-time. Like we absolutely ran roughshod over them. And I had a young referee. And when I got down to the tunnel at half-time, here's Bob Fulton absolutely giving it to him and berating him. And I'm saying, don't listen to that, don't listen to that, don't listen to that. Well, when they got out there for the second half, penalty Manly, sin bin, try Manly, penalty Manly. And I'm sitting with the Roosters board in the stand and they said, we're going to get beaten on the bell again. I said, be buggered we are. So I go down to the sideline.
You're pacing up and down the sideline.
I go down to the sideline to help my team, to give them a little bit of encouragement. And as I'm going down there, the referee penalty and sin bins Luke Ricketson. And my head just goes... So I said to my trainer, I said, get out to the captain, Shawnee Garlick. I said, and just tell him if there's any more penalties, I'm pulling the team off. And Ronnie said, what? I said, just go out and tell Shawnee Garlick. So they go out to the scrum and Sean Garlick's there ready to pack the scrum. He said, Sean, he said, yeah. He said, Gus said if there's any more penalties, he's pulling you off. He said, who, me? He said, no, everyone. He said, the whole team. And Sean said, you sure? We're still in front. He said, go back and check. So he comes back to me and said, I said, did the referee hear you? He said, yeah, he heard me. I said, sit down, we'll be right. We finished up winning.
Oh, yes. What about your experience with coaches? Well, Fitzy, your relationship with Fitzy. We spoke about Mad Monday.
Yes.
You had a heart-to-heart.
Yes, we did. We usually do, actually. Every Mad Monday, honestly, it's just sort of... he pulls me aside and just tends to just chew my ear off for the better part of the entire session, which is unfortunate because I want to spend time with my team. But anyway, it is what it is. But, mate, Fitzy's... He's the best coach I've worked with in Rugby League. He's probably the best coach I've worked with in my entire career, juniors and everything else. So, level-headed guy and, you know, doesn't mind a good time either.
How does he do the balance? Because he would have played with some of these players. And how do you find, how does he handle all that, you know, knowing the players so personally?
Mate, he does it so well. I mean, I've spoken to other players in the past at other clubs and they sort of say that their coach can't relate to them in certain areas, and that's... No one in the club would say that about Fitzy. He sort of... No matter what walk of life you come from, no matter sort of what ethnicity, what background, he can just sort of sit down and chew the fat. He can break down barriers quite easily. He's a good conversationalist and just such a good man, good human being. So someone you really like working with, to be honest.
Who are his assistant coaches there and how does he use them in the team mechanics?
So there's 3 assistant coaches. There's Josh Hannay, there's Steve Price and Daniel Holdsworth. We got... Daniel Holdsworth is sort of the skills and spine coach. Hannay is the edge defence, and Price is edge defence, and Hannay is the attack coach. So he says we actually have 4 defence coaches because we want to sort of emulate teams evolve. We know that the top 4 defensive teams win comps, and you can't win comps if you don't sort of sit in that top 4 defensive team. So it's sort of changed in this year, just in particular, sort of having 4 defensive coaches now instead of having an attack coach as such. But yeah, that's sort of how he utilises the team, and he does it very well.
What about Craig Bellamy? Where's he sit? I think Craig Bellamy's gone past Wayne Bennett and maybe Tim Sheens. For me, Warren Ryan opened my eyes, but to what Footy is when he was coached by Warren, very similar to Gus, same sort of philosophies. Where would you put Bellamy?
Well, he's got to be up there for longevity and success. Win percentage, it's incredible. And the number of coaches that have come out of his system as well.
The coaching tree.
Yeah, it's it's quite remarkable what he's been able to do down there. But just the appearance of the club, I mean, the professionalism, the perception when you think of the Melbourne Storm, when you watch them play, you can tell what a Melbourne Storm player looks like.
Hard-working, honest.
Yeah, you can tell what their team looks like, and they're professional in what they do.
You can't fudge that, can you?
You can't fudge that.
Yeah,
And
you can't fudge it. You can't go, we need to be like this, and if you're not like that, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's a personality and character that comes from the coach. He sets that sort of standard. And he's been very, very good over the years at delegating to assistant coaches and giving them different roles and different responsibilities. But at the core of it all is the head coach who sets the personality and character of the team and the personality and the character of those who play for the team. He doesn't suffer fools and he doesn't suffer people that won't work hard. And that becomes through in the culture of the side.
I think a couple of things that work for him and against him, I think one thing is travel. They obviously travel as much as anyone. They're from Melbourne, so every second week they're travelling, which can be hard and can wear you down, or you can use it as an advantage. But I think they've utilised the bonus of actually being in Melbourne. They'd have less scrutiny on them, so the players get a little bit more flexibility, more freedom. So somehow he's managed to work that into a positive. So I think those couple of things he's done very well.
Talking about Warren Ryan, how do you think Warren would go in the modern game? Warren, without doubt's the smartest guy, along with Gus, being coached by. We'd go for a beer, and we'd bring out coins, and we'd be talking about this But Warren was so blunt. So he coached Newcastle 25 years ago, and the blokes couldn't handle how blunt he was.
Yeah, he didn't have a great bedside manner, but he had a great knowledge of the game. Warren Ryan, I say this unashamedly, has had the most effect on rugby league of any coach in history in the way the game is played, even the way the game is played today. You can see the embryo back in his teachings at a time where he was just lengths above everybody else. Jack Gibson was regarded as one of the greatest coaches of all time, but Jack wasn't as analytical or as football savvy as what Warren Ryan was. And a lot of people that came out of Warren Ryan's ear became coaches, players that he coached.
Well, you played under.
Wanted to be coaches.
He was a mentor of yours.
Yeah, you wanted to be a coach, having been coached by him. And the things that he did was help you think about the game. He not only taught you the game, but he helped you think about the game in a different light and how you could recreate or create your own circumstances around strengths and weaknesses or things that would happen and analyse why it happened, how can I make that happen again to my advantage? And it got you thinking about the game analytically, and that's what he does. And he would do that in any era because he was just, that's what he was. He had an analytical mind and he had a passion for it and a fervour for it. And without any shadow of a doubt, he's had more influence on the way the game is played, and even though he hasn't coached for a long time, what he did in his era had a greater effect on the game than any coach in history.
So one thing he says that the game should drop down to 12 players.
11.
11 players. Like
he wanted to do that in the 80s. Yeah.
You think about, when Gus was playing, when I was playing even, people were slower, not as big, not as strong, not as fast, not as fit. It feels like the field's closing in.
Well, the field's not getting bigger.
How would you think about that? Like, from a point of view of a middle player, of course, there's a lot of pressure put on you blokes from a point of view of strength, fitness, agility. If it was down to 12 players, do you think that would make it a better game? 12 or 11 players?
I think it's something definitely to explore. It's sort of interesting. I don't know how that would sort of impact the middle of the park as much. I mean, there's times when on the weekend we were down to 12 men, and you defend with a 10-man line most of the time. So I'm trying to think. I think, if you look at the Nines game, it's obviously much more open. It's much more expansive.
Bigger spaces.
Bigger spaces, of course, and you'd see a lot more open rugby league for sure. Whether that would make a better product, you wouldn't be able to play 80 minutes. There's no way you could do it for that long.
I don't think you need to. I think what we've done through rule changes over the years, Warren was saying 11 aside back in the 80s, but remember we had a 5 metre rule, right? And we had slower play the balls.
Limited changes as well.
Eh?
Was it unlimited interchanges or
no,
you
one
weren't allowed?
two. There was
no-
That's right. Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
There was
Yeah.
no, there was no interchange. There was no interchange. Most blokes played 80 minutes
Yeah.
every week. There was no interchanges. If you got injured, you went off. You went off. You didn't come back on. But we had a 5 metre rule. We had a different sort of defensive systems. Now they broke that down over time. I can go right back through history and trace it. So it started with going from 5 metres to 10 metre rule, which was a big transition, and then going to faster play the balls and trying to speed up the game from there. And then we went to full-time professionalism, which improved catching, passing and kicking, tries from kicks, which weren't all that prevalent back in the day. So there have been a number of measures during the course of history that have broken down that need to reduce the number of players on the field. We're scoring enough points in our game today. We don't need less players on our field today. But back in the 80s, it was seen as a solution as to why teams couldn't score. I mean, the grounds weren't as good, the footballs weren't as good, the players weren't full-time professionals.
Low-scoring games.
Over time, we've got out of that. But he wanted to do that back in the 80s. We'd go to 11 men.
Yeah. Toby, any other coach you'd love to be coached by in the NRL at the moment? Just say Fitzy falls over and...
I think there's a couple, honestly. Craig Bellamy definitely up there. Wayne Bennett, I know that people are sort of saying some things about him now, but from what I understand, from what his time was like at South, I'm good mates with Liam Knight and Cam Murray and a few of the guys there, and I've just heard nothing but good things about him. And to be coached by a guy like Wayne Bennett, he has that sort of aura about him, and he's done so much in the game, and it'd be just a pleasure to sort of hear some stories about him. And so I think those two guys would definitely be up there.
Righto, boys. Very good chat. After the break, we're going to have some fun with Toby. So get ready. This is going to be hilarious. Nathan Cleary, the grand final masterclass. Are you watching it?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, unbelievable. Had a little bit to do with Nathan. I was playing with Tyrone May overseas. He's his best mate, so had a bit of a relationship with a few of the Penrith boys through Tyrone and met Nathan a few times. Obviously playing against him for a long time, so I was right behind Penrith.
Yeah.
And Roosters and Newcastle. But
yeah.
The way he played in that grand final and the way he just keeps getting better and better, he's the best.
Well, Nathan's obviously the number one. Who have you got 2 and 3 at the moment?
Cherry's still flying. And
Can you believe how good he is? He's got past 30 and he's got better.
Well, he's got I don't know, he's just got this great motivation at the moment, like, to keep going. Like
losing the Australian jumper was good for him.
Yeah.
That sort of pushed him again.
I think he's really balanced off the field as well. He's really settled with his family.
We won't go to that side of the table.
He's sweet now.
It's come good.
That certainly helped him.
Is this how you structured the table?
But there's some great halfbacks in the game at the moment.
you got
I think
DCE too?
Jerome Hughes, he'd be right up there. Mitchell Moses.
I got Moses 3.
Yeah.
I got Nathan, DCE and Moses 3.
Then you got Sean Johnson. On their day, they're as good as
Sean
each
Johnson.
other. Sean Johnson,
I love
Nico
watching him
Hines.
play.
He was unbelievable.
Well, you got those
He
top
looks
liners.
so silky.
But there's no real halfbacks around. You see some of the clubs are, struggling to lock down that position at halfback. Was it after round 2 there was 4 halfbacks dropped, which never happened? Why? Have you got a reason why you think there's no real top line halves coming through?
It's hard to pinpoint, obviously. In the juniors, you see a lot of the teams, the way they're coached in the junior footy now, it's very structured.
Overcoaching.
They treat it like an NRL sort of system. And I know when I was coming through as a half, watching the players I looked up to, it was all, you're idolising their skill set. You're trying to emulate the players you looked up to's skill set. If you're getting structured now in the juniors to kick into a corner, it takes a lot of that away.
I think
It's interesting because Benji Marshall mentioned it after the game last night. He spoke about Lachlan Galvin and Jareem Buller, and he actually spoke about not having so much structure around them. If they see it, go for it.
Yeah.
Use your instinct a lot more. So, these newer coaches coming into the game are actually going back to the old style.
Well, Sam Walker's a bit like that.
Well, his old man coached him.
Yeah.
Ben played a certain way. That's why Sam played.
Didn't he look like Alan Langer when he scored that?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Kick.
But
So
I
the
can't believe how
overcoach-
much Sandon Smith looked like Sam Walker.
He goes good.
Yeah.
He looked exactly the same when he had the same thing when he put a kick through.
What about weight divisions? I've been a big advocate for this. Weight divisions.
So
Now,
there
I'm
is-
just going to read a quote, right? So Nathan Cleary was in Auckland when Ivan was over there. So this is Ivan talking, quote, "It all started at Mount Albert Lines. Nathan played his first game of league in Auckland in open weight game. I asked him how he went and it didn't go so well and he wasn't too keen to front up again. So he was lucky. His second game was in restricted weight group, and off he went. If it wasn't for the I need your glasses. Wasn't for the restricted weight category, he wouldn't have been playing there. So who knows? That might have been the catalyst for his career. So there is our greatest halfback at the moment, who's well on his way to where he's going to be. If there wasn't weight divisions, he wouldn't have played in New Zealand.
So at the moment, there is a system in place where if you're born at the back end of the year, you can apply to play in the year below. So that's nearly in place. You've got to understand also...
So if you're born in December...
If you're born at the back end of the year, so after, July onwards, you can actually apply. And I'm sure not everyone gets it. Like, if you're a good player that can handle it, they'll most surely say, well, you're too good to most surely drop back in the age group. Because you've got to understand also that, size is one thing, but maturity most surely holds a lot more cred when you talk about, competing with someone and, on an aggression situation. So there's balance to be there, and they've tried weight groups.
They have.
And a lot of kids don't want to actually go back.
Kids develop at different times, the development and the maturity of kids are at different levels at different ages. So it's a physical game, and with the physicality of the game, like, you can put applications in to actually go down a level. Yeah,
there's a system in place, so you can officially, anyone can go in and apply to play in a younger age group.
Because listening to that would be happening, and a lot of mums and dads would be sitting out there going,
well, is this the reason why that we haven't got the halfbacks coming through?
I think you lose a lot too, because if a kid's naturally tough and he enjoys that competitive side of things, you push through those bigger bodies.
He could play against the big bodies. I think it's a decision where the mums or dads are looking and there's a kid 4 times the size of him. Well, Mikey's not playing that, but if he's playing against kids the same size, then they can play there and feel safe till 15, 16.
So there are other formats of the game you can play. There's touch and tag, and there's way that...
I know they want to play tag.
I know they're doing a lot with the women, actually trying to get them through tag and into tackle, and just do some processes of training and getting more confidence. So that's one thing, I know I'm working at the league at the moment, is one thing that we really need to get in order is, touch, tag, get it all in order so a kid can come through and go, you know what, I'm a bit nervous at the moment. There might be a way where I can play tag, and then, go through a little bit slower than I'd like to, and, get a bit more confidence before I actually go into 13 aside. So, we're in the process at the moment, but it's a little bit more complicated than you think.
What about the development of those key position players, in particular halfback, Mitch? Like, you've just retired from your playing days. Do you have an ambition to help develop other players come through their career?
Yeah, I'm really passionate about it. Obviously, when I came through, I had some really good mentors, some sitting on this table. Me and Todd Carney have been speaking a fair bit about trying to get into that sort of junior development, starting a bit of a program where we can try and help maybe put some programs together on skills.
Like a Halves Academy.
Halves Academy type of thing. Toddy's doing some really good work with some troubled kids up in Queensland. He does all their Rugby League program up there.
Yep.
So that's something I'll be really passionate about.
There's one thing that I remember watching you two when you first came together in 2010, and Toddy come down. You two used to be able to move the ball from one side to the other better than I've ever seen anyone before and after. Because like Toddy, you both could pass left to right really well, and you could move, throw the ball 50 moves in 2 passes, and it nearly changed the game. But not many other teams, I think, had the ability, the halves, who could actually throw left and right.
Ricky Stewart.
Yeah, Ricky.
Ricky, he started that.
The worry is, though, like the young halves, I came through watching players playing like that.
Yeah.
The problem is in 10 years' time, if it doesn't develop and they're watching the way the game's going now, who do you learn off? That's my sort of approach to it.
Well, the only one I see, the one I love watching now, that's why I asked you about Sammy Walker. I watch Sammy Walker off the ball and he's always scheming. And he's only going to get better because now he's starting to learn how to play into structure, but he loves playing out. So he's going to get the mix right moving forward.
And see, the last 20 years, halves have been pigeonholed on either side of the field. Do you think we're going to go back to the old school where, they connect with their...
Well, depends on the coaching. Yeah. Who's coaching the team and who's coaching the young guys coming through, whether they can play that way or whether they just want to be pigeonholed and just play a certain way and play like robots.
Well, in the old days, the halfback used to actually be in a second line of defence.
Yeah.
So as they kicked down, the halfback would actually sit behind the line for about 3 tackles. So he didn't have those big back rolls.
What a great
line
job.
them up. Yeah,
what a great job.
Yeah, just sit gobbing off from behind.
Well, now sometimes they get on the wing.
I said, that's not far back. I'm going back further.
But you're right. The overcoaching of the juniors, it's Because, you learn your biggest lessons on the field when you're making mistakes. How long since you've seen a halfback chip over the top and chip over the fullback? Remember growing up, Phil Blake and Turvey Mortimer and those guys. You never seen it.
You create that fear, I think. Yeah. Playing the last couple of years I played, if you take that risk and it doesn't come off, your
coach screams at you.
Yeah, and your teammates, the whole structure around the way you approach your footy is built on that long game mentality. Yeah. So there's obviously a place for it here and there, but I think that fear grows, and then that's going through the juniors as well.
Getting back to Nathan the other night, best game you've ever seen him play?
I thought the opposition was down.
Yeah. I think the grand final, given the significance around what was at stake and how far they were behind, he really grabbed that game. And look, Nathan doesn't go outside of what he's good at and what he knows he's good at. Like, he's probably not the most brilliant halfback that I've seen, or he's probably not even the most brilliant halfback in the game right now. But he stays at what he's
brilliant
good at.
In what way? People
just naturally skillful.
Yes. You compare him against like Sean Johnson.
Yeah.
Sean Johnson, like he's
so persistent at staying in the game and staying at the opposition that they eventually break. The tries he creates and tries that he scores aren't overly brilliant, but they're just what he does, and he just stays at it and he's persistent with it.
He's good. I always go back to his first game. His first game was against Melbourne. Made 40 tackles, missed none.
Yeah.
He's always been an effort player.
Didn't Jesse Bromwich give him a hard time? He was talking about it the other week.
All his footy's been on the back of effort. If there's a ball on the ground, he's diving on it. He gets back, and his teammates just love him.
When you debut, anyone will debut in the NRL. Like, it's a hard game. Like, everyone's at you. Everyone's at you all the time. So that would have been no different.
What about coming through? What about some of the lessons you learnt early on? When you debuted at 17? Did you give him his debut?
Was that
in Melbourne?
I was there.
No, I was in Cowboys, got pumped.
What did you learn early on?
As around halfback play? My mentality was always about competing as a kid. I didn't want to let my teammates down from that regard, and just playing tough. And then I think when I was younger, I probably played a bit more instinctive. Coming through, I played a lot of 5'8" as well in the juniors, so I always had a decent running game, and I think I started to learn a bit later on, obviously, the other parts of the game, if I ever got there. But, that was my mentality as a kid. I just wanted to compete and be in the moments. I prided myself on my running game.
Well, we're going to go through your career after the break. Some good, some bad. So stay with us after the break. You're going to have a laugh. Turn it up. Or maybe turn it down.
That's going to haunt me forever.
Firstly, Lloyd Christmas, the hair. Every kid now wants to get his hair cut like yours. Is there a perm in there?
No, it's nice. Naturally.
Freddie, perm?
Mate, he uses one of those wands. You got a wand thing going
it's
on.
My natural hair.
Do it like a rap.
How was that? Tell us. How awkward was that trying to sing?
It was horrible. It took about 30 takes, and I was the one that kept stuffing it up because everyone just kept laughing. So
that's your Drink West, your beer company with Bam Bam?
Yeah, and Tyson Pedro.
Yeah, and you opened a new bar?
There's a sports bar opening that should be done before Origin 1.
Called?
Freddy's, but it's not after Freddy.
Yeah.
So,
isn't? What about your some of your business ventures over here? Gus was talking about.
Freddie and Lid's lawn mowing.
Mowing lawns.
I opened a lawn mowing business with Glenn Lydiard. Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, that would have gone real well.
Lost car, lawn mowers, whippersnippers.
How's it going, the Drink West stuff?
Yeah, it's going good. It's it's an interesting experience. It's probably my first sort of step into business outside of footy, and it's sort of just learning. I'm not too hands-on with it, sort of just the face and promote it, but it's cool.
Do you enjoy the fact that it gives you a focus away from football? Football takes up so much attention.
Yeah, I do. Football is my passion, and I want to put all my energy into that. But it is good to have a sort of avenue outside of that to sort of focus on and learn about, and particularly for after footy to go into that space.
People always talk about the relationship between sport and business and how they can learn from each other. Have you learnt being able to take anything over to the business side of things?
I think it's just about building relationships, which is so important in footy, but it's also important in the business side, connection, how to talk to people, and I think that's definitely a correlation between the two.
Have you thought 10 years in into the future? What's going to happen when you hang them up at 35, 36,
Coach.
38?
Coach for sure.
Nah. I try not to think about it too much.
See these two seats here? One of us won't be here.
Smart money's on this one.
Good chance of me.
Nah, I don't know.
You haven't thought about it?
I try not to think about it too much. Obviously, you want to set yourself up, but I want to do that through playing really good footy and really putting all my focus into that, and then what happens after the byproduct.
And not getting divorced a few times probably helps too.
That'd be nice.
What about the body? Tell us that you're out with the hammy at the moment.
Yeah.
You had a bad hammy last year. Managing the body, is that in the back of your mind?
A little bit. I think
What
I could
are you
be. I can. It's a little hammy tear. It's definitely
You're
not the same
26
as
now?
26. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's more so managing the workload around extras and kicking and all that, which is something that I've never really had to think about growing up. It was just something that I really enjoyed doing. It was fun. I never got injured doing it, but especially last year, started to pick up a few niggles here and there. So probably more so the mental reps now, and sort of just planning my week around it.
Well, last year you did your hemi properly. You kept you out for the best part of the month, 6 weeks, I
6
believe.
weeks.
So is it similar to that?
Nah, it's not. It's probably what happened just before I did the actual tear last year. So it's just really minor. It's the other leg as well. So.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a conversation around that with the physios and how to manage it properly. I was probably lucky that I actually did it last year, so I knew something was sort of up and could go off before doing it worse. But having said that, if it was a grand final last week, I could have played. It's just sort of, just trying to get it right for a long year ahead.
Now you're out. James Fisher-Harris is out. Sorensen's out. Liam Martin goes down within the first quarter of the game. What is it about Penrith at the moment that they just keep churning out this quality?
I think it comes back to the way we train and just our culture. It's quite a cliched thing, but that next man up mentality, we definitely have that. And I think it's just trust within the system and trust within each other. Getting to train alongside each other every day through a pre-season, you begin to trust the person next to you, no matter who it is. And, you see Brad Schneider coming in and he just does his job, he knows his role. The people around him step up and help him and make him feel welcome and have his back. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's more so the team and the system and the culture rather than the people in it.
What about Liam? So Liam Martin came off with that AC and they cut his jersey off. He looked at that much pain. Yeah. Now, we've all done ACs here where you can play with a needle, but you can't lift. There's no training, no weight training. How's he going to go?
Yeah, he'll be fine.
Well, we know that something's missing.
Are you saying he's got some carry on in him?
I think that he's the softest tough guy. Everyone sees him and he thinks he's the toughest guy, but I reckon he's probably the softest in our team, just in terms of stuff like that. But I think he'll be fine. We have a bye. We've played Manly this week, then we have a bye, so he'll have time to rest.
So you'll come back after the bye?
Yeah.
So you get coached by your dad. Like all coaches have different strengths. What's the strength of your dad as a coach?
I think he's not as hands-on with the technical side of things. I think he sort of lets our attacking and defensive coaches do their thing with the technical and game plan and stuff like that. But he's massive on culture, that sort of man management, and I think a lot of that sort of next man up mentality comes from him. Just preparing people to play first grade and just knowing what he wants from the team and that team mentality, putting it first. So I think that's his biggest strength.
Last week we had a chat about halves, how we don't see a lot of quality halves coming through. And we spoke about weight divisions, and there was a quote from your dad, Ivan, talking about your first experience playing rugby league in Auckland. And you played in the open age, and obviously you got smoked and smashed, but you played in the unders and overs the next week. Tell us about your experience with weight divisions.
Yeah, for me it was more so the fact that I think I could develop properly in the weight division. It wasn't so much that you're versing kids my weight. Like I'd still verse kids that were 20, 30 kilos heavier than me, but it was just a bit more balance for me. I was quite small growing up. I think the bigger the open weight division, sometimes there's not that much skill in it. Like you can just give it to the biggest kid and he'll just run through.
And you're doing a disservice to the big kid because when everyone catches up, he can't catch and pass. He can't catch and draw and pass.
To be aware, that system's available in Australia. So there's that system now in New South Wales and Queensland as well, or anywhere in Australia. So you can actually apply to go to a year below if you feel like you're disadvantaged by size. So
another thing I spoke about was the overcoaching of halves in juniors. Now, you've got a younger brother, Jet, who's a halfback. Yeah. How old's Jet?
He's 18.
Are you coaching him yourself?
I try not to get too involved.
And this isn't a knock on junior coaches, it's just the way the game has gone.
No, I do agree though. Like even watching my little brother just come through the ages, from the age of, it would have been under 12s, they were doing set plays and setting up a point on the field to do this massive set play, and I just don't agree with that. I think it's too focused on you want to win when you're at that age, but coaches are too focused on, we've got to do this because NRL teams are doing that to win games, where I think you should be focusing on nailing 2v1s and looking up short sides, numbers, all that sort of stuff. And I can talk to him about that, but I don't want to get too involved in his development either. I want him to sort of work it out himself. But I think they're the main things, and that's things that Dad sort of taught me when I was growing up. It was all the little things about diving on loose balls or looking for numbers, not so much set plays and all that kind of stuff, which I think in junior footy you don't actually need it.
So at your level, how much of it is structured and how much of it is just playing what you see in front of you?
I think it's the ability to play unstructured within the structure. So you get to points on the field and you want to put plays on, but you're constantly looking up, counting numbers, and that's the way it should be, I think. Where like I'll go and watch my little brother play when he was 12 years old. It'd be 3v1 down the short side, but they're thinking, we've got to get this massive play on.
I've got to do a block for a block.
Yeah, which is just... It's just not how it is. Where you get to the NRL level, you do need to have some sort of structure, I reckon, just to break down defences. They're so good now, but you've got to be able to play within that structure, but also outside of it.
We need structure to get a quick play the ball.
Yeah.
Like you nearly, that's what we used to talk about in the old days. Like you use a play to get the quick play the ball, and then you jump out from dummy half and away you go. And that was the whole mentality in the old days. Like there was less support around the ball and different things were happening in the game, but that was the mentality. You'd have a block play for something to get a one-on-one tackle, quick play the ball, to then jump over and support and use skill, I suppose.
Well, you think about like a lot of the biggest games you're playing, a lot of the tries that are scored they're not structured, nice set plays. They're sort of coming from momentum and quick play the balls, and then you just find a way to get over the line.
We've all watched your career and marvelled at it, but everyone talks about Origin, your next frontier. What do you think about that with your ability? You've done it in grand finals, big game, but owning an Origin series. Is this something that drives you?
Yeah, it does
and
for
Billy's
sure.
here too, by the way.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but I do agree. Like that's definitely a massive goal for me, is being able to own an Origin series and be a part of a team that can win a few. And that's something that definitely drives me. Growing up, you watch Origin, watch people like you, Freddie, Billy, and all had success on that stage. So it's definitely something that drives me, and something I want to be a part of, and I'll be working hard to do so.
Can you go 4 in a row?
Yeah, I reckon. I don't see why not. I think there's obviously a lot of players have left our team over this sort of 4-year period, but it gives young guys an opportunity. To see Taylor May come in and play centre this year with Critter going, and I just think it's exciting. I think it gives you sort of new energy to the group too, and it makes you want them to experience the same feeling we've had the last 3 years, and I think we've got the squad to do it.
I was thinking this morning about the players that you have lost over the last few years. You've got Kikau, Coruscant, Burton, Spencer Leniu, and Stephen Crichton. Like they're quality players. Like does that hint the confidence levels at the club, or how do you get over that period of, hey, we've lost all these players, what are we going to do?
I think it's just become the norm, really. Like it's sort of happened pretty much since we made that grand final in 2020. Each year we've sort of lost a handful of players and quality players. Like you're obviously going to miss them. I think it's the fact that you can't replace them like for like, but you can replace them with other players with different skill sets and strengths. And to be honest, like when we get into training, it's that mentality that we want to be back there. Like we don't expect anything else other than being there at the end of the year and fighting to try and win another grand final. And I think if you get too caught in sort of looking at what's gone rather than what you have, then it can fall into that trap. But I don't think we've sort of had that problem.
That was so good. Stay with us after the break. On Turn It Up, we're going to talk about mobile phones, social media. Put them away. Welcome, Chris Lawrence, the West Tigers legend.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Debut. Let's talk about your debut. 17 against the Broncos. How's that?
Yeah, 06. It was pretty crazy. I got picked to go up as an 18th man for a pretty experience from Tim Sheens, and then I think wasn't the captain's run. I think it was a couple of days before, just doing some opposed stuff, and Paul Federer tears his hammy. Everyone goes down, he comes across, and then Sheensy comes and taps me on the shoulder and goes, "Looks like you're playing, kid." And had to rush my dad home from work. Didn't have a contract. I wasn't 18, I couldn't sign. I had to get a contract sorted, and 3 days later at Suncorp. Yeah, pretty surreal. Probably wasn't until warm-up when you saw the crowd, it really hit me. And then it's like, wow, this is first grade, but it's, yeah, unreal experience.
So I remember watching you. It was like only a couple of weeks prior to that, playing for St Greg's. You were playing fullback.
Yeah.
And what was it like, school, going to school? What all your classmates?
Oh, it was unreal. It was the next day I had a HSC trial exam at 9 a.m. So I pretty much had to fly home, go in, and all the boys were.
Were you studying on the plane coming home?
Yeah. So I was studying. So I was sat next to Chris Harrington, who's a good mate, an absolute legend, and
But not a scholar.
yeah. But he's sitting down. I just didn't know what to do. So I got out on the way home after the game, got out study books, and Heine goes, mate, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm studying. He goes, mate, put that away. Enjoy the win. worry about that tomorrow.
Here's a race form. Yeah. A race form.
So it was, yeah, pretty hard to concentrate in the exam, but it was awesome. Like your mates who you play footy with at St Greg's and go to school with, and see how they were like just as happy, you know, as I was to play. Like just for them to experience that, and then probably not so much brought me back down to earth, but that afternoon, you know, as you do, young kids in Campbelltown, we just went to the local Macca's, and after an exam sat and you know, just mucked around, and then the cameras followed me down, and you know, we were playing up to it, weren't doing anything crazy wrong, but then the next day the club sort of said, look, I know you haven't done anything wrong, but just here's an indication, like it's not, you know, you've got to be careful now, like of what you do and say in public. So it was very quickly a quick lesson about being in the public eye.
What about the good things? More attention from the girls after that?
At an all-boys school.
Even better.
That's a classic.
But it was different. It was literally out of nowhere. So you're thrown in the limelight, and I didn't know how to. I suppose you don't know how to handle it in that sense. And then played against the Storm week after and got taught a lesson, and marked up against, I think, in the second half, up against Greg Inglis after we were down. we were down by, I think we were down by 20, and then said, all right, Rowdy, you go across and mark Inglis at some point. And to be honest, it was a great lesson because you're on such a high from the first game, you get to beat the Broncos, and then you realise how far you are from, you know, the best in the game, and it's a good measuring stick. Okay, I need to try to work my way to, this is where you need to get to be a first grader.
Well, we spoke to Josh Morris
last week.
And he said,
he had to change his whole training.
Yeah.
He said, Greg Inglis, he said, well, I'm not strong enough. I need to go and get stronger. I can't compete.
Well, he was the best, you know, as a centre and a winger. So it's like, that's the measuring stick. What do I have to do to try to match him and try to compete with him?
Who did you look up to when you were coming through as a young fella? Who did you look up to and aspire to be?
Oh, there's always a number of guys. I got Bradley Clyde's signature when I was young, and as a young kid, when you get, you know, something like that, you hold on to it, which is pretty cool. You know, these two guys here definitely looked up to, and you know, when you see these guys do things, you know, you go down, you're practicing, like, you know, Joey's banana kick. Everyone's doing when he brought the banana kick out. You know, Freddie's left foot. As I started coming through the grades and started being a centre and a winger, I really followed Mark Gasnier and Matt Gidley really closely. I just watched their game, everything they did, just try to, you know, do those extras, the little shimmy out with the flick pass, just to pick those things up. And that's what you do. You follow players who you look up to and try to pick things out of your game.
Well, you can see in all these clips the speed that you had. At some stage, you were an athlete before you were a footballer, or at the same time. Did you have to choose between whether you wanted to pursue being an athlete and rugby league?
I probably would never have made it in athletics. Yeah, did really like athletics when I was younger. Sprints I was really good at. Probably was better at the long jump and some of the jumps. Probably as my body type, my old man was skinny and turned into a front rower, so I don't think I would have ever had the body type to maintain athletics. But it was a really good tool to use coming through to again have that speed and power into first grade. And it was definitely something in the off season, in the pre-season, to when you don't get a lot of time during the year, to go back to try to redefine some of those tools.
What about some of the injuries? You had some horrendous injuries. Tell us about the head clash you had in New Zealand.
Yeah, that was. I remember. I think it was 2 days before first trial, so it wasn't even a proper game, and just training run. Wasn't even a full contact training run, just one of those things. And had a head clash with Benny Madalino, and someone's punched through the line, and I've lifted my head, he's dropped his head, and straight away I didn't know how serious it was. And first thing was like, you know.
Oh, so it didn't knock you out?
Didn't knock me out. Yeah, so it did knock me out. I was fully conscious, and I thought, I think I broke my cheekbone. And then I just felt after a minute or two, my whole face just felt like it was caved in, all the blood sort of rushing down the back, and was struggling to breathe. And all the thoughts race through your head when you have things like the first thing. It's like, it was Madge's first year. We got towed up all pre-season. I'm like, I've got 3 months of pre-season now, and I'm going to be out. And then I'm off contract. I'm like, straight away, is this the end? Because I'm 30.
But the ambulance didn't come for an hour or something.
Yeah, it was an ambulance strike, unfortunately, in New Zealand on the day. So, the physio
look at it.
kept saying, look, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And, to be honest, I did panic for a bit there because I couldn't breathe. And Ronnie Palmer was really good. He sat with me and I sort of just had to calm my breathing down and just, in and out and just get the air in. It was about an hour, and when the ambulance came, I think Robbie Farah gave them an earful about getting him some pain medication or something like that. So,
And there was another one, your hip.
Yeah.
That one kept you out for a while too, didn't it?
Yeah, the hip
You
was...
dislocated your hip?
Hip was 2011. Again, I sort of still...
Well, this is it
is
here.
now, yeah.
Oh.
I still don't know how... I've watched it so many times, and just the angle to be able to, have that happen, and straight away, Leedsy, the physio at the time, said, what happened? I said, dislocated hip, and he said, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure.
And they couldn't get it back in,
Couldn't get back in for about 2.5 hours. So I was in the hospital afterwards. And probably the toughest thing about that was once they put me out and then went back in, a week or two, it was just felt like a big cork. It wasn't actually, the pain wasn't that bad, but it was more the uncertainty. They said if your hip's out for more than 2.5 hours, there's a chance you lose blood flow to the hip, which means hip replacement, which means career over. But you don't know that until 12 weeks in. So the first bit of your rehab, it's all the uncertainty. So I really thank the club and the medical staff around me, because I sort of put that aside and I said, well, take my mind off it, give me a goal every day. So I actually became a running joke with the players at the time, because I would literally know what day my rehab. I'm like, I would set myself a goal in playing. I'm get back and play in 90 days, and just set myself a goal just to take my mind off it. So, which it did, and I don't think I got back in 90 days, but I got back pretty quick. Probably came back a bit too quick. Didn't get everything right, but it was a good lesson, and it allowed me just to not focus on the uncertainty.
Do you have any good memories?
Play for Australia.
Yeah.
What are your best memories? What are you?
Yeah, I think obviously your debut's always, and debut scoring a try is pretty special. My first Test match playing New Zealand, Eden Park, was pretty special, and then got to play in the Four Nations final in 2011. Played I think all Tests in that series, and that was probably a special one because that was the year I did my hip at the start of the year, so I'd actually came back from my hip and then played all the Test matches that year. And I think not only to play for Australia to win a Four Nations, but I think for me just the hard work I put in to get back. So that was definitely one of my more fond memories.
Getting back to the injuries, do you carry any trauma from that?
Not so much trauma.
Mental scars?
No, I wouldn't say mental scars. Definitely the physical, pain of things every now and then. I think when everyone said to me after the face injury, like, why are you coming back? Do you have any, are you scared of coming back and injuring again? And I had reassurance from the doctor that there wasn't an increased risk. That helped. And I don't know, there was some burning desire for me. Again, I was back in my career. I wasn't getting any faster, stronger, and I wasn't going to play for longer. Why did I come back? For me, it was I wanted to at least give it a crack, and then if I couldn't come back, at least I said I could have done everything.
And you went to the back row then?
I was already in the back row.
How was that?
How
was the difference going from centre to back row?
I think that when I went to back row, it was the right time. After my hip, probably 2 years after my hip, everyone, again, I lost a bit of speed with the hip, but I had a lot of hammy injuries and a really bad ankle injury, which pretty much ruled me out for a whole year. And it was those injuries that really dropped my speed, and I knew I'd obviously adapt my game, and that got me into the back row. And the way the game was going, a lot of the centres weren't getting as many ball. The block plays out the back, and it was just going full back to winger, so centres weren't getting early ball, so you weren't in the game anyway. In the back row, you felt like you were more in the game. Yes, higher work rate. Back end of my career, really struggled as the speed of the game got a lot quicker to do a good 80 minutes in the back row, where I struggled, and then end up coming full circle, finishing I think the last 5 games back in the back in the centres, and it was like, how good is this? Just
Yeah.
chilling back in the centres.
Yeah, smart decision retiring because you can see the natural progression: centre, back row, front row.
Or reversing.
But with the positive traits that you would have picked up through not just your injuries, but you know, playing alongside you and watching your career unfold, you know, super professional. Have you taken those traits into your life after footy?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the one thing you do. You know, regardless of all the things you do in the footy field, it shapes the person you are going to be. And a lot of people say, you know, what if this didn't happen or if that didn't happen, but it builds character. It gives you the tools to again be successful in whatever the endeavour is beyond footy. So I definitely not like I would like to go through all those things, both the good and but the bad sort of things. But it does shape you and builds the resilience, and I suppose gives you a bit more gratitude. It does humble you, the game. You know, footy's a great way, a great leveller. You know, you could be on top of the world one week and brings you back down. So being able to...
Thanks, Greg.
Maintain that humility and, you know, just to keep getting better. I think that's the one thing, probably out of everything, that the one thing, if you're not trying to improve and constantly get better, you get left behind in the game of sport. So if you take that, you know, to outside of footy, you're going to obviously grow whatever you do.
What about the Tigers at the moment? There's a lot of talk about Leichhardt, where that sits. We're going to a game this afternoon that's out at Campbelltown, where you're from. Where's their home? Where is the Tigers? Where's their future?
Yeah, look, I think that it's one of the hardest things because you see, obviously, the benefit of playing at a ground like Leichhardt, you know, just the atmosphere and how it does lift the players. But you've also got, obviously, the Macarthur region, you know, where I grew up, and it's just such a growing region, and, you know, that is where the big, you know, junior pool comes. Compared to when I played there, I think the, you know, the junior comp is, you know, almost doubled or tripled. There's so many good juniors coming out of there, there's so many people living out of there, and I think there needs to be an investment in, you know, southwestern Sydney, in the Macarthur region. I think you can't let Leichhardt go. You've got to have, you know, some bit of heritage and maintain, you know, part of that. So how they balance, you know, where you play your home games, yeah, again, I'm not quite sure. Down the track, obviously, in a perfect world, if you know, money wasn't an issue, you'd have a purpose-built stadium out of Western Sydney that is solely for the Tigers. But obviously, money doesn't grow on trees. But I think, you know, the club has recognised, particularly this year, the need to really invest in that region. You know, going back there and showing that obviously not only in the region, but obviously the juniors coming through as well. What
about your footy team, the actual footy team? Are they on the rise? You've got young Lachlan Galvin that's come in and played a star in a couple of games. Buller, Benji Marshall as the head coach. Can you see the trajectory heading towards where they want to go to? Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably the first time, probably since when Benji, Robbie came through, that you have got a good crop of juniors through, you know, your Harold Matthews and your SG Ball that have played together with a few seasons, that you can, you know, start to build a squad around, and in 3 or 4 years' time, you can have them making up half the squad. So I think now's the opportunity to develop them and give them that opportunity. That's probably one thing over the last 10 years, right or wrong, where it's, you know, fallen down, is that, you know, I think beyond from last year, I think the youngest local junior was Dave Nofaluma at 26 or something. So where's that gap? We've lost players, not like we're not developing them. Yeah. Where are we losing them, and how can we retain them, and how can we show them a pathway where they can see a future at the Tigers? I think that's what they're trying to do and starting to do. And I think if you start to, again, put good people around guys like Lockie Galvin, because they can't come into, you know, first grade automatically know what it takes to be a first grader. So guys like Appy, you know, Dave Clemmer, John Bateman, they've probably got the most important job of the Tigers in the club's history, because the standards they set off the field are what this young group are going to see as this is what it takes to be a first grader for the next 15, 20 years. So how they apply themselves, the professionalism, the standards they set are going to be what, you know, those Lockie Galvins take through, and hopefully, you know, to a long-term successful club.
What about, did he coach you in City Country?
Yeah, had a
Captain. That was the last captain.
You were captain?
Yeah, there you go.
That was captain and coach.
Yeah, it was a really good. We were.
Mate, no one's watching, so just tell us.
We had. I think everyone wrote us off. I think we were like 10-1. You know, all the team that was probably going to get picked, well, they're not playing or in the countryside. And we did our, you know, our come together and did all the great community work, obviously, that the Footy does, and go, let's go out, you know, let's have a team team get together. Where should we go? There's nowhere to go. And then a few of us go, I think there's a bar down the road that does some good salsa dancing. So I think
That was the start of salsa night.
So we go to the start of
Josh
salsa.
Mansour.
Yeah, Josh Mansour. I think a couple of last ones out that night. I think me, you, Butsy, and Sauce. And then we got to, I think,
Dancing?
Always.
yeah, I think everyone was. It was a great night.
That's a yes.
But it was an enjoyable
That's
week.
a kind yes.
We came out and I think we beat country by 30 points and won the game.
Salsa.
Yeah,
It's a key.
salsa dancing. So
What about the business now? Tell us what you're doing now.
yeah, so fortunate enough to start an education company whilst I was playing, One Training. So we do unique and tailored learning for specific groups. Started doing a lot of work with athletes and helping in their transition. Now that I've finished, we've been able to help and got some state and federal contracts to work with different groups. We work with school students doing traineeships, school leavers, those looking to transition to careers, and do a lot of work with marginalised job seekers. So those who have been out of work for various reasons, helping building confidence and industry skills and placing them to work. So it's really rewarding. As I spoke about, I suppose the constant growing and learning. It's probably those characteristics that we see trying to show with all the groups we work with, and being able to see people who have been out of work or haven't had any completed qualifications in their family, being able to help them complete a qualification, getting work's pretty rewarding.
Well, his performance today might be out of work, so you might want to help Freddie. Thanks for
You
your
go and
time.
do my job at Campbelltown the Savo.
Thanks for your time, mate. That was sensational.
Thanks.